Good afternoon from Portman Road. Stuart Watson here, and we are live to discuss Ipswich Town against Sheffield Wednesday, the latest championship outing for the Blues, and it's a tie that they're firm, strong favourites for, 4-1 odds-on favourites for, with a lot of bookies today, and there is reason for that, mainly because of the shape that Sheffield Wednesday are in at the moment. Crisis club. Sheffield Wednesday, rock bottom. They were hit with an 18-point deduction this season, 12 points for administration, a further 6 for further financial issues. They are currently on minus 9 points, having managed to claw back 9 so far. 14 games without a win going into this one. We'll come back to the Owls in a minute because the focus needs to be, of course, on Ipswich Town. How are you all? Thank you for joining me. I can see a few of you starting to enter the stream at the moment. Should we go straight to team news and I'll run you through it and then we can get a few thoughts on the game. Kieran McKenna, the rotation has started to slow from the Blues boss in recent weeks. Beat Coventry 3-0 here, just the one enforced change for the midweek game against Stoke that followed. George Hurst suspended, even Azon came in for that one. And then went to Leicester last weekend, Hurst back into the team up front, and the only other change was Sindre Valla-Egeli missing out through illness at the King Power Stadium, and that meant Jack Clark played on the right. A bit of a return to that experiment that we saw in pre-season and the early stages of this season. Didn't really work, did it, with Clark on the right, so he drops out and Sindre Valla-Egeli comes back in. And that means we're starting to see a bit of a core of a team emerge now, aren't we? I'll run you through it in full. In goal, Christian Walton, who was twice beaten from long range last weekend. Alex Palmer back, breathing down his neck on the bench, so he'll be looking for an improved display today, will Christian Walton. Back four of Darnell Furlong at right back, Dara O'Shea, the skipper, Cedric Kipre, who seems to be making that shirt his own, now at left-sided centre half, and Leif Davis, the virtual ever-present Leif Davis at left-back. Midfield, Azor Matasiwa, and there is another change in there today, which I missed out earlier in that chat. Jens Kjuster in for Jack Taylor is the only other sort of big change in there today. So it's two changes, Jens Kjuster in for Jack Taylor in midfield. And then, before we get onto the top end of the pitch, Azor Matasiwa, one booking away from a 2-match suspension. Well, there was a bit of a theory of thought that maybe he should be taken out of the line of fire today, with games against Millwall and Coventry both away after Christmas coming up. But no real sort of like-for-like cover for Azor Matasiwa. So Azor Matasiwa does play today, partnered by Jens Kjuster, who, a bit like the team, has been a bit up and down as Jens Kjuster so far, so a chance for him to show his worth in the team today. And then a front four of Sindre Valla-Egeli on the right, Marcelino Nunez in the 10, Jaden Philogene on the left, 7 goals this season, all of them here at Portman Road, including a cracker, a winner against Stoke last time out here. And then George Hurst up front, who had very little to feed off at Leicester last weekend. I think 13 touches of the ball in that game, so he'll be hoping for a bit more action today at Portman Road. Bring you onto the bench, Alex Palmer, Jack Taylor, as I say, drops to the bench, Ashley Young, Ben Johnson, Casey McAteer, Jacob Greaves, Schubert Akpom, Even Azon, and Jack Clark. Most notably, no Sammy Schmodics in the squad today. He's recently returned from injury. Setback after setback for him in this calendar year. Ankle to start with, finally got that sorted with an operation. Came back, got a knee injury, I think it was the West Brom game, which he needed a little minor op on. Came back from that pretty quickly, a couple of appearances off the bench recently, but he dropped out the squad today. Is that a setback? There he is, Mr. Jones in the background. Hello. Is that a setback for Sammy Schmodics, or is that simply a case of not being attacking options? My fear is, and I don't know this for certain at the moment, that it's probably the former. because if Kieran McKenna had the chance, he wouldn't be naming 2 right-backs, I don't think, on his bench in Ashley Young and Ben Johnson. So maybe a little setback for Sammy Schmodics. I am thinking out loud there, not based on any insider information. As always, we'll find out a bit more post-match when we speak to Kieran McKenna. Right, before we come on to Sheffield Wednesday, got any thoughts from you all on this game today and on the lineup? I'll wait for some comments to come through. Sheffield Wednesday, as I say, a reminder of how sour things can turn in football, a reminder of how grateful we should be about how Ipswich Town have been run by the American owners since Game Changer arrived back in 2021, because it's gone south very quickly for Sheffield Wednesday. Protests against the owner, Chansiri, for a long time at Sheffield Wednesday, but things all came to a head in the summer. Month after month of players not being paid on time ultimately ended with a lot of them ripping up their contracts and walking away. Eventually Chansiri is forced out. Administration comes for the Owls, as I say. Initial points deduction of 12 points, a further 6 on top of that puts them at minus 18. They've managed to claw back 9 so far. Ipswich strong favourites today. And yet, there is a slight fear that this could be a banana skin for Ipswich, because if there's one thing Ipswich have struggled against this season, it's against teams, particularly here at Portman Road, that have come here to sit deep, shut up shop. A back 3/5 has been a bit of an Achilles heel. Multiple examples of that. Go and check out Alex Jones's piece. You've just seen that make a little cameo a minute ago from earlier in the week for the stats against how Ipswich have fared against such setups, but it's not been pretty. The Charlton home game is an example, of course. Is there a guarantee that Wednesday will come here to try and do that today? Not necessarily. If you speak to any Owls fans, they'll say that a big part of their issues has actually been trying to go toe-to-toe with teams this season, and the best example, or one of the best examples, was on Monday night, where they tried to go toe-to-toe and play football, play out from the back against Derby, and 2 of the goals, the first 2 goals, come from that. Henry Pedersen's response to that is, we need to be more direct, we need to be more compact, we need to be more aggressive. So that says to me that they will come here today, this afternoon, and look to frustrate. And it will be up to Ipswich to find a response to that. At times they found that difficult this season. What lessons have they learned in these sort of matches, and can they put it into practice today? The pressure is on. Obviously, the search for consistency continues. It's been a kind of 1 step forwards, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward recently with the home wins against Coventry and Stoke, followed by 1 step back with the defeat at Leicester last weekend. Ipswich, one of only 2 teams in the top half of the table yet to win at least 3 on the spin, Leicester being the other team amongst those. If they're going to make up that gap to the top 2, 8 points to Middlesbrough, 13 to Coventry, which looks sizable, they're going to have to go on a run at some point, aren't they, and undo some of that early damage after the slow start. Is it a team ready to do that? Doesn't look like it just yet, does it? The stats are good in terms of goals scored, goals against, XG, but the eye test doesn't back it up. I think we're all yet to be fully inspired by this team at the moment. They're still building a bit of trust, aren't they, to get to where that previous band of brothers, that back-to-back promotion team was. As I say, we're starting to get to the stage where the team is starting to settle down a little bit, and hopefully that will breed consistency, breed chemistry, breed a bit of character, because if there's one thing that Ipswich have fallen short on, it's dealing with setbacks, whether it's within games or the subsequent follow-up performance from a defeat. We've heard Kieran McKenna say that himself multiple times this season. Today is another opportunity to show that they can come back after a defeat, and they should really today against the Sheffield Wednesday side. As much as there is a fear that they could frustrate today Sheffield Wednesday, and they have got some results this season on the road. I'm just going to remind myself of those. Watford, off the top of my head, they came within seconds of getting a win against them recently with a last-minute equaliser against. Wrexham, I believe, is a team that they've got something against. Well, let's do it properly and give you that. So they got a 2-2 draw at Wrexham early in the season. They got a 2-2 draw at Birmingham. They've had a 0-0 at West Brom, and they got a 1-1 at Watford recently. So they have gone away from home, and they have been able to come away with something from games this season. There's some familiar names, some championship experience in their lineup. The evergreen Barry Bannan, 36 in central midfield, needs no introduction. Arguably one of the championship greats. And he's still one of the most creative players in the division. So he's someone that will need an eye kept on today. Who else do we know in there? Dominic Iorfa, of course, on the right side of a back three. Former Ipswich Town loanee, played right back, of course, during that time in the Mick McCarthy era. Jamal Lowe's been about, hasn't he? The centre forward's been at Swansea, Bournemouth, and the like up front. And then around that, some younger players, transfer embargo / restrictions limited them to loans. Charlie McNeil, Manchester United, Harry Amas, Manchester United left wing back, been one of their best players by all accounts this season. Where I think this game could be won and lost today, or will be won from an Ipswich Town point of view, is the left-hand side. Ipswich's greatest strength has been down that left-hand side from an attacking point of view, at least, with Leif Davis and Jaden Philogene starting to form a relationship slowly over time. Leif still getting to grips with that inverted role, but Philogene is the danger man, particularly here at Portman Road, and Wednesday's issues have been down there right. Sean Fuzire has gone away to AFCON with Zimbabwe, so he drops out today, and it means they have a 34-year-old Liam Palmer, whose best position is centre-half, filling in at right wing-back today, coming up against the dual threat of Davis and Philogene. And I think, ultimately, that is where Ipswich will overwhelm Sheffield Wednesday today. If Ipswich can get an early goal, then I do honestly think this could be an afternoon where they could rack up some goals. Maybe not as many as the last time we had this fixture here at Portman Road in the promotion season. 6-0, we've just seen the footage of that on the big screen. Not impossible that we see something similar today if an early goal goes in, and it could become quite uncomfortable and a day where Ipswich put on a show. On the flip side, there's every chance that the longer it goes on and Wednesday frustrate and Ipswich don't have any answers, everyone gets a bit tetchy and nervy in the crowd. That translates, and it could be, inverted commas, one of those days. We'll have to wait and see. Getting a few comments coming in now, so we'll see what you got to say. Mark here, I was actually wanting to see mass changes today. Res Nunez, Jaden, Azor and Leaf. Interesting, Mark. We've gone through a cycle of everyone by general consensus saying, come on, too many changes, settle down now. And now it has started to settle down. You can't win. Now there's people saying, actually, I want to see a bit of freshening up. I think there was actually an element of that needed at Leicester after some really intense performances against Coventry and Stoke. More open games, which clearly suit Ipswich, but a lot more running. Philogene, Nunez, Taylor would put in the brackets of players that looked like they'd were starting to run on fumes a little bit in that game, but a week off going into this one, a rare week off after 7 games in the space of 22 days, will hopefully have done Ipswich the world of good in terms of recovery and preparation. A bit longer as well to get ready for this, as I mentioned, with Wednesday playing on Monday. So for me, I wanted to see some minimal changes, and that's what we've got today. If there's one man that's got a bit of a point to prove today that I want to see something from, it's Jens Kajusta. He's fallen short of expectations so far after his return on loan from Napoli, so much so that Jack Taylor appears to kind of be reasonably ahead of him in the pecking order. A chance for him today against so-called lesser opposition to remind everybody of his quality, hopefully. Mid-table question mark, says Mark. Give your head a wobble. We'll be top 6. Just need to find some consistency to battle for. Is there a mention of mid-table? Yeah, I think this is in response to Stephen here. We're simply an average side that will probably finish mid-table. If we don't win today, I'm taking up crocheting. So there we go, two sides of the court. Stephen saying we'll finish mid-table. Mark saying give your head a wobble, we'll definitely be top 6. I concur with you, Mark. No concerns at all about top 6. Yet to be fully convinced by this Ipswich side. No doubt about it. Yet to set the pulses racing on a consistent basis. But let's not forget, they've beaten Sheffield United 5-0. They've finally beaten Norwich in an East Anglian derby. A fortnight ago, they beat top of the table Coventry 3-0 here. There's enough talent in this side, and they've shown it on several occasions. 4-1 wins at Swansea and QPR as well. It's not all been doom and gloom. You might see here, on my left shoulder, the gaffer. Rare appearance. Mark Keith with us today. It's not been all doom and gloom, but there's no doubt about it. There's some question marks, as I've said, over the 3 C's, which I spoke to Kieran McKenna about at the press conference yesterday. Chemistry / cohesion, whichever C you want to use there, hasn't looked like a team yet, hasn't looked like relationships have come together. We haven't seen familiar patterns of play, have we? Character is another of the C's. Have they got the bottle to come back in games? 10 games in which they've gone behind this season, haven't won one of them. 5 draws from those games, so if you want to put a more positive spin on it, in half of those games they've gone behind, they've got something, but not a win. There's been 3 last gasp goals as well, so that still speaks to the side that go right to the final knockings, but that's still a hurdle that they've got to overcome, and the character then feeds into how you respond to losing your previous game. Middlesbrough followed up by a defeat to Charlton. Oxford followed up by a terrible performance against Blackburn. Lost at Leicester last weekend. What's the response going to be today? We'll see. What else have we got on the 3 C's? Character, cohesion, chemistry. I can't remember what the 3rd C is now. He looks for support to his right. Doesn't get it. I'm going to have a little look on what I wrote in the piece. Dead air is bad air, but I'm going to find it anyway. But anyway, I spoke to Kieran McKenna about consistency. Thank you. It's come to me. Consistency. Ipswich, as I say, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Not been able to get results on the spin, which is what is required. So I asked Kieran McKenna about all those things yesterday, and ultimately it's a repeat of a lot of the things that he said. And I think a lot of the things that are still fair in terms of time. Time is hopefully what's going to bring it for Ipswich. It was a rebuild in the summer, and these are a collection of players that are still finding their feet in a new country, in some cases, in a new town, a new club, with a new manager, with a new style of play. Rotation was required, says the manager, in the early stages of the season to give everyone a fair chance of getting up to grips. There he is, he's running away now, he's scampering away. Andy Warren, the Hutch man, decided to come and pull some faces in front of me. The argument from Kieran McKenna is if he hadn't have rotated so heavily, he wouldn't have a fully fit squad as he does at this stage of the season. But now is the time, I think, where we start to see a team come together in more ways than one. Mentally, physically, chemistry-wise, all of those things. We need to start seeing it now, don't we? And today is a great chance to start a difficult festive period on a high against Sheffield Wednesday, because as I mentioned earlier, it's a trip to Millwall on Boxing Day. Millwall, who've been in the top 6, who were losing 2-0 last time I checked. I'll have to have a quick look at that to give you a live update. Yeah, they've lost 2-0 at Blackburn today. I'll just get a live table. Ooh, Norwich drew. They went 1-0 up, but that has finished. They drew 1-1 at Preston, and we've also had a 1-1 draw between Southampton and Coventry as well, who have now dropped points in 3 of their last 4 games, which is interesting. So live league table as we head into kickoff is Coventry still top, of course, but on 48 points. Middlesbrough now 6 points behind them. Preston 36, Millwall 35, Ipswich 34, so a chance to go above both Millwall and Preston with a victory today and go up to 3rd. Hull equal on 34, and then we go down to Stoke 33, Southampton 31, Leicester 31. It's so congested, isn't it? 31, 30, 30, 29, 29, 28, 28, and I'm down to West Brom in 16th there on 28 points. So there really is nothing in this championship table, is there? It feels like an average championship division this year. Maybe that is because the lesser sides have got stronger and it's concertinaed up a little bit, and the best sides don't look able to rack up those huge points totals we've seen in recent years. So yeah, any more before we start building up to the game. Michael here, is this a home banker, or are we taking Sheffield Wednesday too lightly? Kieran McKenna and the players won't be taking them lightly. Full respect, says Kieran McKenna. Darnell Furlong echoed that in his post-match press conference previously yesterday. They've had enough experiences now of playing so-called lesser sides here and finding it frustrating against teams that want to make it awkward and difficult. The early goal, if they can get an early goal like they did against Stoke, that's going to make all the difference to the crowd, to the confidence, to everything today. I hope they can get it and it doesn't become, as I say, one of those days. In here, Wednesday are a wounded side. I don't think they trust their manager. We can drive the dagger in today. Certainly an opportunity to do that, I think. As I say, that right side of Sheffield Wednesdays is where I think Ipswich can be really ruthless today, with Davis and Philogene combining. Age-old debate here. Our last championship squad. Peas all over this squad. Blue Army. Again, I brought that up with Kieran McKenna yesterday, that a lot of supporters, it feels to me, and that's backed up by the comment there, keep comparing this to the promotion-winning squad, the band of Blues brothers whose son was worth more, whose whole was worth more than the sum of the parts, underdogs who were taken lightly and did something that so few teams did with the back-to-back promotions. This, by contrast, is a multi-million pound, £130 million squad, yet to convince, yet to live up to their price tags, yet to come together as a team. And it's meant that bond isn't quite there, and that bond between supporters and team feels fragile to me at the moment. A few hearts and minds still to be won over. That is natural, but as Kieran McKenna points out, it's not particularly helpful, it's not particularly healthy. You need to park the past. Ipswich needed to try and move on, not be sentimental. Have they got everything right with recruitment? No. Will some players come good? Is it too early to judge some? Possibly. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we're still reasonably early in this period of transition for a new squad, I think. But time cannot be the enemy. Ipswich are now nearly halfway through this season. They can't allow too much more of it to slip by if they're going to try and chase down that top two, which was clearly the target. A few questions here about the January transfer window, Michael. Is there a particular area town needs to strengthen? Deja vu. In Jan, we need bare minimum centre mid and a striker. Centre mid, agreed. Mainly because Atom Matasiwa, is a suspension and injury away from Ipswich having a real problem in that holding midfield role. The one game he's missed was the Charlton home game where he was suspended. They tried doing it as a quarterback. Didn't really work in that one. No one else quite liked him. Ashley Young ended up playing centre mid for a little while at Leicester last weekend. That needs sorting. Striker. It's not quite happened for Hurst or Azon so far, has it? I had big expectations for Hurst coming into this season. Not quite worked for him. Is that because he's a striker that needs space in behind and teams aren't giving it to him? Azon should have more goals for the chances that he's had. Again, the handful of starts he's had, not quite worked. Do Ipswich go and get a striker? Easier said than done to get one of the required quality that's going to be better than they've got mid-season. We'll have to see on that, won't we? We need, in January, left back, central holding midfielder and a striker or two. I'm not sure about two, but there's definitely a debate for a striker. That's a debate for another day, guys. We'll be producing a lot more content on the January transfer window. Mark Ashton has told shareholders this week that he can guarantee Ipswich will be active in the January transfer window. 4 has been the magic number, hasn't it, in recent years? That's been the number that they've done in the last 3 January transfer windows. Certainly the 2 in the promotion seasons really breathed extra life, energy into promotion pushes. Will it happen again? We'll have to wait and see. There's a fair bit of football to be played between now and the window opening. Certainly a lot of football to be played between now and the window closing. An injury or 2 can happen, and then the whole complexion of things changes. So Kieran McKenna says for that reason his mind is not on signings. Of course, he's thought about it. He's been in meetings. They've got some plays spinning. But at this moment in time, his thought is on getting the very best out of a deep and talented squad at his disposal. Today is the next opportunity to do that against a Sheffield Wednesday side really struggling at the bottom end of the table. Must win. Feels like it, doesn't it? Pressure's on. Ipswich Town versus Sheffield Wednesday. It's time for perfection. Ding ding. Teams are out the tunnel. Join me for live updates. It's Mark and Alex 5 to my left. I'll see you on the other side, guys. Cheers.